Well, you can squeeze in here.
On your right.
Yeah.
On your right.
Yeah.
So where's the second district you said that?
Okay, second district
We're live?
is everywhere.
We're live already? On everything?
Oh, Cape May
Did we
County,
click?
all of
What's
it,
down there?
all of Atlanta County, all of Cumberland County, all of Salem County, little piece of Gloucester
So
County.
South Jersey.
Well, we're not.
Really?
We're live, so you
And
can
they
go
don't
ahead,
take
Bob.
care of it.
Okay, we are live, people. All right. Is there all the mics up? My mic sound right?
Yeah.
Check one. Okay. Welcome to Mind Elevation on a Thursday, people. We are not here is on a Monday. We are here on a Thursday. We're going back to our roots. We actually started on a Thursday. Remember, Sharon?
Was it a Thursday?
Yeah, we started on Thursday night. Yep.
Hey.
Yep.
We're
We're going back.
Thursday.
Maybe that's a possibility.
Or 2 days a week.
Anywho, I'm gonna ignore that like I didn't even hear it. Today
Another Thursday back, just in case you didn't hear me the first time.
okay, we're gonna ignore her right now. She's cutting up because we have a special guest in our midst. We have. Is it now? Let me get the. I want to get the title right.
Okay.
Senator. No, just Congressman. Congresswoman.
I wish I was, I'm running for Congress.
We're gonna speak it into existence.
Okay, all right.
We're gonna speak it and
That's
spoke it into
right.
existence.
Well, all right.
Future Congresswoman.
Thank you.
Tansy Youngblood is
Thank-
with us today. She is running for Congress for the 2nd District.
That's it.
And we also have her friend Janice over here.
Hi.
This is Gail. That's Oprah. That's Gail. And we also have joining us Rose Bell
Yes, yes.
and Miss Jerry Granger.
Yes.
Okay, so and Sharon is over there. She is getting Facebook ready.
Hey.
You had me introduce all this and it's not on Facebook yet?
Are you mumbling about me again?
No.
I heard her say some stuff.
Oh, you did? Well, it wasn't clear, so it actually doesn't count.
Remember, I'm the Oprah.
Oh, okay.
That's the deal.
All right.
Okay.
So,
We see who's running this show.
yeah. I'm the Oprah. Okay. So we are going to start out. I want to get it on Facebook first before. Punch harder, faster.
I'm waiting for it to reset it.
Oh, Lord.
So it's
Two,
probably
three.
nighttime.
2.
One.
It's that one go.
Okay, now we are Facebook Live now also. So welcome Facebook. We already started on YouTube. So we are here with the future. The future. We done spoke it into existence. The future Congresswoman Tansy Youngblood. She is running for the 2nd District Congress. And the primaries are June 5th. Cannot forget that day because it's my birthday.
Wait for it.
Oh, my daughter's
My-
birthday, too.
Oh, see? That's what I'm talking about. So June 5th.
Oh, boy.
Oh, Lord.
Yes. Yes.
Ay,
We all in the house.
Guys in the house. You know what that means.
So you know that's a special day. So you already got it in the bank. Because that's my birthday. So you got it in the
Enjoy,
bank.
guys.
Speak it into existence. Let's everybody get out and vote in the primary, June 5th. I am Tansy Youngblood. I would like to represent, it would be an honor and a privilege to represent you in Congress. The 2nd Congressional District is the largest congressional district in the state of New Jersey. It includes 8 counties, 4 full counties and 4 part counties. If you live in Cape May County, if you live in Atlantic County, if you live in Cumberland County, Salem County, you are part of the 2nd Congressional District, and there are also parts of Gloucester County, a small piece of Camden, Burlington, and Ocean County. So please get out and vote on June 5th. Tansy Youngblood.
Where's that thing? No, it's that thing, remember? On there.
We're good.
Okay. So you're like a born natural. That she just flowed with it. She was like, blah, blah, blah. I think you're the first person on here that was never nervous.
Well, you know what? I've had a lot of experience in Atlantic City. The first time I did it, I was very nervous, but I've been doing it for a little while, so I feel comfortable with it.
And this is your first run in public office,
Yes,
right?
it is my first run. I'm actually a retired school teacher, 35 years in public education, and that's one of the reasons that I'm running is because I want to make sure that we have a strong education system in this public education system in this country because education leads to economic advancement and opportunities.
And you have, and come on, toot your horn, 2 masters and 5 teaching certs.
Absolutely. 2 master's degrees, 5 teaching certifications, 2 of which are in educational leadership and administration.
Leadership is a good one.
Yes.
Betsy DeVos.
What happened?
I said, do you hear that, Betsy DeVos?
Which is one of the reasons I'm running. Listen, I decided to get in this race in January. Oh, yeah.
I like this.
Oh, yeah. This is one of the reasons I decided to run after, of course, Trump was elected to office and he made the selection of Betsy DeVos for the Department of Education. I was very, very discouraged because she has so little knowledge about public education, so I did decide to run. That was, 2 of the reasons that I decided to get in this race. But in addition to that, I decided to run because I care about people, and I am a helper, and I'm a public servant, and what other way than to serve the people in the House of Representatives? And remember, the House of Representatives is the House of the people. There are far too many lawyers, bankers, and businessmen in the House. We need everyday, ordinary people, and I'm just an everyday, ordinary woman who decided to step off the sidelines and do something about how this country's run.
As a teacher, you're not, because I'm a social worker, so we kind of, teachers and social workers and nurses are those kind of forgotten professions that we take on a lot, we do a lot, low pay, they're caring professions. So, and I believe a lot of times that's missing from like Congress and from, in the House of Representatives, like you said. So you were graced on Time magazine.
Yes,
The Avengers.
I'm an
I
Avenger.
do homework.
I am
do
an
my
Avenger. Yes, I am.
do my homework.
I am an Avenger.
And some of your things you were going to tackle are college, healthcare, equality funding for public schools, opposed for-profit charter schools.
Absolutely.
And when I thought about the school system thing, I thought about Savage Inequalities. I always remember that book, and it talked about the Cherry Hill School District, about how the Cherry Hill School District, and compared it to, I think it was Camden County School District.
Camden, yeah, okay.
And how, the monies were deciphered, like Cherry Hill would get this amount of money with books and pencils and art projects, and Camden, you might get a piece of notebook paper. You might.
The interesting thing about that is both Camden Public Schools and Cherry Hill Schools are both in Camden County. And this is one of the reasons that I'm running for equity in education. When the Department of Education first started in 1979, the purpose of the Department of Education was to have equity in education so that our more underserved districts would get the funding that they needed, like our more affluent districts. And what happened over time is that department just became a big bureaucracy, and now we have a Department of Education that is mandating testing, and it's so far from what the original intent of the Department of Education was about. But that's what it was about, to make sure that our more underserved schools had equity, equality, and funding, so that our kids from the more underserved districts could compete with the more affluent districts.
And what about college? I know you're talking about affordable college, and I'm one with $170-some thousand student loan, so I understand.
Like Stacey Abrams.
Yeah. I understand,
Right.
and it prevents you from doing a lot of things. I can't get a house. It prevents you from doing, like, they tell you get your education so you can progress further, which it did. But now it kind of got me in a catch-22. It's like,
I understand fully what you're saying, and this is another reason why I'm running. We are telling our young people that they need to have a college education in order to succeed. And of course, as an educator, to me it is important that, everyone get a college education, but we have to consider a few things. We have to consider the fact that we are not helping young people to finance the education. And in addition, when young people come out of college today, they're saddled with sometimes as much as $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 in debt.
170 or something.
Yes. We need need to come up with loan forgiveness programs. We need to lower the interest rates. But more importantly, we need to make college more affordable. And how do we do that? We do that by, in my opinion, we do that by making it free. I believe in free community college. I think they should. I think we should first start by making it affordable for people, and then I think we should make it free, and we put these standards like you have to make a certain amount of money or you qualify or don't qualify, but I think we have to set the standards higher for when we have people with higher income parents. They need to be able to qualify for the tuition breaks or grants or whatever we're giving young people. But if we're telling young people that they need to have, and you have to have this in today's society, so if we're doing that, then we have to provide the financing which is necessary so that, the young people can go on and get the what they need. And also, I would like to say, I'm also very concerned with the lack of vocational training that young people receive nowadays. There are a lot of people who are not interested in a four-year degree right away. So we need to have vocational and technical training available for our young people so that they can earn skills and certifications so that they can get jobs, and jobs that pay a livable wage. In addition to that, I have to say, I favor a $15 minimum wage, but that is only a start. If you live in the state of New Jersey, it is very difficult to live off of a $15 an hour job. That's
Absolutely.
difficult to do. So it should, we need that, but that's a good start. But what we need to have good paying jobs so people can afford to live.
And that's and not only because I know, like in the South Jersey area, a lot of times it seems like we are the forgotten ones in South Jersey. Cumberland County is like the forgotten county. It's always North Jersey, Central Jersey, Atlantic County seems like they get money pushed into them, but it seems like Cumberland County we just keep surviving. It's just like we're just meddling through, but we keep hanging on. But there's really no funding coming in to Cumberland County.
Let me give you a few statistics about Cumberland County. There are 21 counties in the state of New Jersey. In terms of well-being, and I'm talking about education, economics, and health, Cumberland County is number 21. So it is the poorest county in the state of New Jersey.
Do you think that's because of the politicians in the area holding it back?
See who your representatives are. What are they doing? Hold them accountable. You've had the same representatives down here for decades.
Since birth. Since
Exactly.
I was about,
You have to. We have to start making politicians earn our votes. We have to start holding them accountable. This is why I'm running, because I am fed up with status quo politics. Listen, we have a group of men who are dominating our politics, controlling the wealth, and making the laws by which we are all forced to live. I say it's time we change that narrative and we get different people in office.
and we've really just had Lo Biondo,
Yeah, exactly.
Andrew,
And
same ones.
Well, listen, I got in this race. I just want to say this. I got in this race a year ago. And I am a Democrat. I am a progressive Democrat. I've been a Democrat all my life. I got in this race to run against a 23-year Republican incumbent. That's why I got in this race, to run against him. Then he decided to retire.
And then
And then other people, of course, got in the race. And so I didn't, my intent was never to run against any Democrats. My intent was to run against the Republican. But it didn't work out like that. So I'm in this race. I was the first one in this race. I believe it shows my commitment to hard work, because my my campaign is about family, it's about hard work, and it's about public service. That is what my campaign is about.
And your campaign kind of almost, because I think it was April of this year, you had $83,000 or $85,000 in campaign contributions, and 95% of that was from people paying under $100.
It's interesting, isn't it?
So that it kind of
People-
shows that,
Where
you
the
know,
money
people
comes
are
from.
willing, they want to change, they want something different. Even people, because a lot of people think, oh, I can't afford to, you know, contribute $5, $1. It all adds up.
You know,
100 pennies make $1. So
I would, you know what, I'm glad you mentioned that, because my campaign is the people's campaign. It really is. Listen, I don't have a network of wealthy friends. My network of friends are working class, middle class families. And when they give a donation for $100 or $200, that's a big donation. I have veterans who I'm very concerned with, because the veteran population, 11% of the homelessness in this country are veterans. The suicide rate is 22% higher for vets than non-vets. But I have veterans who contribute $100, $50 every month like clockwork. I have housekeepers, women, you know, single mothers who give me $15 reoccurring donations. Because they want me to win, because they know that I am going to be the voice of the people. And if you look at my contributors and if you look at my donors, you'll see that it's small dollar donations, but it's those small dollar donations
That make a- yes.
have kept this campaign going, and divine intervention.
and that's another thing. I'm the program director for PATH, for the Guidance Center, is the Project for Assistance to the Homeless.
Yes.
And there is a significant, I don't think people really realize the significant homeless population here in Cumberland County. And even those at risk of homelessness. Because we have people, a majority of people making $776, you know, a month on Social Security, or $1,200 a month on Social Security disability. And the rents in Cumberland County, a one bedroom will run you $900 to $1,000.
And you know what? Again, let's go back to Social Security. Let's talk about Medicare. Let's talk about Medicaid. These are programs that I intend to fight for. As a matter of fact, when you look at Social Security, the benefits that's given out, I don't even see how people can live off of that. It's so small. Those benefits should be expanded. And you know what? The thing is, this country is not a corporation. It's a country made up of people. But unfortunately, we equate wealth with worth in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And we are not taking care of the least among us who need the help the most. But we can give tax cuts and breaks to huge corporations and billionaires. I have a problem with that. So,
And we can
No.
build more state police barracks. We can build more, but we can't build more affordable homes.
there we go.
There
There
we
we
can't.
go. Yeah, we're building, $500,000 and $1 million homes, but we need to have affordable homes. You're absolutely right. And we have chronic unemployment in this area that we need to deal with.
An opioid crisis in this area.
Absolutely. All of these problems, and the elected officials, what are they doing about it? Again, hold these people accountable.
And what you're talking about with Medicaid and Medicare, it's
Yes.
not a lot of young people, you know, they don't think, well, Social Security and Medicare, that's not, you know, I'm young. But this is going to affect you in the long run. There's going to be a point. I talk to younger people now, and they're like, I probably just work till I'm dead. You know, like it probably won't even be Social Security.
And it
I mean, and I'm hoping that I get my little piece that I've worked for.
And it almost seems like that's what this system is designed. Just work until you drop
Dead.
Exactly. And in this country, I'm union. I've always been union, and I support unions wholeheartedly. As a matter of fact, unions set the standard, and unions help everyone, even people who are not a union member, because when you're in a union, unions set the standard of living. They negotiate and they bargain for decent wages and benefits. Go to a country where there are no unions, and then look at the standard of living there as opposed to our country. And if you'll notice, this drive for privatization and to deunionize in this country, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous. And people, in addition to the Social Security, like I said, most people don't get a lot of Social Security, but they have their pensions that they live on. They want to stop this. And I have a problem with this because young people need to have good paying jobs where they pay into a pension fund and they know that they can retire with dignity.
Yes. And that is the one thing, that's a lot of reason why people they continue to work because they can't afford that significant pay cut. I know, because I look at my Social Security every month because I'm ready. So I look and it said, it tells you if you're 67 now, you would get this much. And I think mine is at maybe $1,400 a month. I'm like, who? I can't. I can't. There's no way. There's no way I could live. I could, but I'd be sad. But, I'm like,
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and it's to the point where it's almost like you have to find somewhere because I'm part of, the teachers, because I teach at the college.
Okay.
So it's that, and I've noticed where they take out that 5%. I've earned more at the college in a short period of time in my pension that I have anywhere else. So that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. Okay, I have a pension over here. I have this over here. So a lot of young people have to really realize, don't just decide on the votes that you think don't pertain to you. In the long run, they're going to affect you a great deal, especially the 20-year-olds. And it's going to affect you.
And let me just also say this myth, I call it the myth of scarcity, that Social Security is running out. Don't believe that for a minute, and I'm going to tell you why. Look at our defense budget and the money that we put into our defense. If we need, and we have to go back, it was George Bush who borrowed that money to pay for that war in Iran. That's
Contra.
Yeah, exactly. So, you see, we have a huge defense budget. All we need to do is reprioritize our spending. There's enough for everyone. This scarcity of myth has got to stop. There is enough for everyone. And I want to say about Social Security, there's already pay inequity between men and women. So, you see, when you talk about cutting Social Security benefits, you're talking about little ladies. Little ladies. That's all they're living off of. And you want to cut money from them. It makes no sense to me. I'll fight for Social Security. I will fight for Medicare till the end.
And what about the benefits changing as far as Medicare? There's a huge major difference in the benefits you can receive, which I get the both sides. I have a lot of clients that have Medicaid. And I have family members. My sister's disabled, and she gets Medicare, which she had to switch to Medicaid, PACE Medicaid, in order to get a home health aide to come in. Like, there are really no services for Medicare. It's very, very, very scarce. And a lot of people don't realize that, like, when you retire, you get Medicare, you better have a backup plan. Like, because you have to switch over, because that's what my sister had to do.
Or you fall out of the income bracket.
Yeah.
Because my uncle has Medicare, he has Alzheimer's, and he makes $50,000, but he's not eligible for anything. And $50,000, what does that do nowadays?
Especially when you have someone that you're taking care of, someone that's sick.
Well,
that money goes
right, because
yeah.
the cost of living goes up, but his money stays, so he's upside down all the time. We're ending up putting money into his pocket to help him make it, month to month.
So let's talk about healthcare. So we're on the issue of healthcare now. We already have 4 structures in place. We have the Affordable Care Act, we have Medicare, we have Medicaid, and we also have the VA system. Now, there are 4 structures in place because, you see, we have 360 million Americans, and healthcare should not be an economic luxury. Healthcare should be a right for everyone. So what do? We take those 4 structures and we build on them till we get to the point where we have universal health care, single payer in this country. Medicare for all. It's just that simple. Now, you have to look at it in more regional, I guess, in local terms of how do you cover everyone in New Jersey. But you spoke to an important point about the subsidies, because with the current Affordable Care Act, there is an income limit, a cutoff. And then when you make a certain amount, you don't qualify for subsidies. Same thing for families, who are working families, middle-class families. Their premiums continue to rise.
Correct.
So what we have to do is have more subsidies for higher earner incomes for the middle class. It's just that simple. Middle class incomes these people should be able to qualify for more of the subsidies from the government. It's not that hard to do. Again, where's the money going to come from? Reprioritize our spending, in particular our defense spending, because that if you look at our budget, that's the huge part of the budget.
But does the middle class even exist anymore at this point?
Well, and they're suffering.
Right.
And that's the whole thing about it. We have people working 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And then we have parents who are middle class jobs or earners, and they're paying college tuition, which is unaffordable. And everything, just the taxes here in New Jersey, property taxes. So you see, people don't get the relationship sometimes between property taxes and health care. But I'll just give you a small example. When a school district hires employees, they pay them a salary and they pay them health care benefits. And as the cost of benefits continue to rise, then so do your property taxes, because the district has to pay out. So something as simple as, the government providing the subsidies and having a single payer system of health care would eliminate a lot of that. So your taxes would actually be lower. Again, people rarely make that relationship. You see, health care is one of the most important things that we need to fix in this country. And that's the main thing I want to fix when I go to Congress, health care.
And there's because a lot of people I know, their job choice is actually buy health care. I've had people leave the job of Matt, go to somewhere else. I mean, our pay might be lower than another agency, but their insurance is astronomical. And you wind up paying more insurance, and you're making more over here. So a lot of people, sometimes that's the first question I ask. I go on a job interview. What's your health insurance benefits? How much do I have to pay? And I have to weigh all that out.
Medicare for All really is the answer to that. I have friends who retired before the age of 65. They stopped teaching, and they have to kick in on their benefits. We're talking $800 a month, or higher. We need to have affordable health, accessible quality health care.
Because I probably would, I say at 55, I really want to stop working full time and then just focus on my practice, and do little other part-time things. I said, where am I getting insurance? I was like, where am I getting health insurance?
Absolutely.
And I'm like, how much is it going to cost me to get penalized for not having health insurance? Is it worth it than me paying? Because I rarely go to a doctor. So is it worth me paying $600-700 a month? And I don't even really use a doctor like that.
Take a risk. Never take a risk on your health.
It would be if you've gotten a car accident.
Yeah, and that's one of
For the unexpected things. That's why
right.
you absolutely have to have it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's one of the,
But there goes that part. You gotta have it, and it's taking away from your living expenses. So you're in that upside down state. Even though you get the $15 an hour, that's fine, but it's still not gonna cover. How people say, stay off the system, but you have no other choice but to get on the system.
Well, that's one of the reasons that when you get a job, you can't just look at the salary.
Because
because your salary is really not an indicator of how much you're really making.
Correct.
I always tell people, look at how much, when you go to a job interview,
You gotta look
ask them how much is my health insurance, how much is health insurance
all
going
of
to
your
cost
benefits.
All of it, yes.
401k, the whole nine.
401k,
Everything. Because at the end of the day, somebody making $15 an hour is probably only making $7 an hour.
Correct.
You have to put all that into consideration, your travel time, your health insurance. Do they have 401ks, 403bs?
That's
Do
right.
they, so do they have any kind of retirement plans? Health insurance is the main. I have one, she was paying a single person, and she was getting paid weekly. She was paying, she said, almost $400 and some a month in health insurance, where we pay $62 a month.
Again, Medicare for All. That really is what we need to move towards in this country. And we have the structures already in place. You know, people get so alarmed when they hear that, but the structures are there. So all we have to do is really fix
it.
That's all.
And we're paying for it already.
Exactly.
Everybody pays into it.
And you know another thing, we are the only industrialized nation in the world where we don't have universal health care.
I was gonna ask that.
The only one, the only country. And guess what? We're the sickest country too. We have more illnesses.
I always show Sicko by
Yeah.
Michael Moore in class. I always show it, and they're like, they can't believe the differences of, and they're like, well, some of it might be biased. I said, I'm sure they have their little issues too. But when you're allowed to just walk in and get, you know, coverage, get your arm put back on, and you don't have to worry about this hospital bill that might make you bankrupt. You might lose your home.
That's right.
And yeah, because hospital is a day at a hospital.
Have you ever, and if you know of anyone who have maybe had to go to the hospital emergency and see a doctor, and then go to and out of, and then you get a bill for $5,000 because the doctor specialist that you saw was not in your network. So where do you get that kind of money from when you're raising a family? Where does $5,000 come from all of a sudden? So, you know, we really do have to move towards a universal health care system in this country. It's mandatory. And you know what? Talk to the physicians. All of them, that's what they call for. The doctors want this as well. You know what? It's the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies and their need for profit. You know, their profiteering off of sick people. Listen, no one in this country should be making profits off of our children, sick people, prisoners, and the poor.
I know. What's his and elderly? What's his name that just went to jail? He didn't go to jail for the hike in the medication. He went to jail for fraud or something else.
The HIV guy?
Yes. Oh God, what's his name? Young white guy. And he raised the price of an HIV medication from like, it was up to almost $700 and some dollars from like $70.
That's something.
Yeah.
And that's you know,
A pill.
A pill.
That's something.
Yeah.
And you know what? Something to consider. Again, it goes back to the lobbyists in Congress. They are financing the campaigns of many of our Congress people, and because they're pushing that money, just like the NRA, they're financing these people's campaigns. They're pouring money into their campaigns, and the people are voting in the interest of whoever the lobbyists are. They're voting in the interest of the NRA, they're voting in the interest of the insurance company, they're big pharma, everybody except for the people. And it should not be like this. Campaign finance reform, ending Citizens United. I've already signed on to the 28th Amendment, and that needs that Supreme Court decision that says that corporations are people too needs to stop, because it gives that ability, that dark money to go into these campaigns, and these Congress people will vote in the interest of the special interests and not the people who they were.
What do you feel about women's health, how Trump is handling women's health?
Well, you know what, I'm an advocate.
Control and all that.
And you're pro-choice.
So you know what?
on.
My stance never changes from the beginning. You know, I am the pro-choice female in this race. I believe that abortion should remain legal and be safe in this country. I believe that a woman's reproductive rights, they're her rights. My body, I have a decision to do. I don't think that we should be allowing people to legislate what we do with our bodies. I believe in women's reproductive health. I believe that Planned Parenthood should be financed, and I'll tell you why. Because for many women, particularly low-income women, that is the only health care they
have.
receive. That is when they
That's a
go
scary
in.
thought.
You know, when they go in for pap smears, birth control. You know, the bottom line is we do have a say-so over, you know, there are families. You know, do we want to have a large family, whatever size family we decide to have? So the bottom line is, for low-income women, this is the only place that they go so that they can get birth control. And in many cases, the only doctors that OBGYN will be the only doctor that they see.
Do you guys have any questions for her?
No, I'm listening to this.
I have one, but it's
Yeah.
a little off topic, so
Yeah,
we
because
can
she's
get to
more
it.
in that category.
Well, I'm gonna tell Cumberland County right now, if you're sick and tired, hear everybody crying and moaning and complaining about Van Drew and Lil Biondo and so yeah, he out of the race. So now it's time you're sitting here, you're listening to the future congresswoman, and I'm like mesmerized. You want to change. You want to make things different. Stop talking about your vote doesn't count. Get out and vote. If you can see Black Panther 106 times, you can go on June 5th, my birthday. Make that a birthday gift to me. Go out and vote.
And
Like,
find me on, I'm not on the line, of course, I want to just give you a little insight into the process of how the political system works down here, those 8 counties. Now, each county has a county chair. And all of the county chairs, there's not one of the 8 counties that I mentioned earlier in the show, none of those counties are represented by women. And none of those counties are represented by people of color. And they are the chairs who make the decisions of who gets the line. So you go in, and the communities of color, I'm going to ask you to please come out and vote in this election, because if you don't vote in this primary, there is no November for me. And typically in these kind of elections, most people don't come out and vote.
to vote, yeah.
And you know what? And it's no judgment call here on me. I'm not judging, and and I get the apathy. I have to say, I'm going to tell you why. What is the incentive to come out and vote when the same man has held the same office for over 2 decades? Why am I going to come out and vote for this guy? He's been in that same office for over 20 years.
Well, now you have a reason.
Now,
Now you got a reason right here to get out and vote. You have a choice. Now you have a choice.
Absolutely.
And actually, yeah, in the primaries, it really was just a vote Democrat, Republic.
There you go.
Okay, let me vote the Democrat. This is just, and I vote because my parents are, my mom's 74. She came hurting to go vote in the presidential. It was like hurting. I felt so bad, but she wanted to go out and vote. And so there's no excuse, because when it comes down to it, if somebody is put in office that does not have your best interests at heart, you cannot complain about the situation that you are in. If you go out and if you vote, then you have a right to say, no, this is not who I wanted in here. And I'm going to hold you accountable for everything that I wanted into this office.
Thank you. If you are
Go
a
ahead, go.
registered Democrat, even if you didn't vote in the last election, you are still registered.
You are still
You're a
registered.
registered Democrat. And I am a Democrat. I'm not on the line, but listen, you can find me.
Explain that though, because
Yeah.
a lot of people don't.
Not on the line.
A lot of people don't understand what being on the line means, and if you don't understand that, you could inadvertently vote for somebody that you really do not want to be in office. So explain what that means, and explain how to handle that in the voting booth.
Okay. When you go in the voting booth, when you go in a primary, you declare you say who you are.
Well,
are a
first
Democrat.
explain the line.
Okay.
The line.
All right, so here's the line. So when it starts with the Senate race with Menendez, and then everybody who's on the line is the party choice. I'm not going to be on that line. After the Senate race, you have the congressional seat, which is the seat that I'm running for.
So it's an endorsement, basically, by the Democratic Committee.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, so the Democratic Committee for Cumberland County has decided to endorse one person for senator, another person for congressman, and those people that the committee endorses, okay, become the line. And you could effectively go into a voting booth and choose a button that says just all Democratic.
And go straight down.
And it'll
Okay.
go down the line, and she's not in the line. So that's why I'm asking her to explain, so that people understand that you really have to pay attention when you go into the voting booth.
So what would she be?
So take your time.
Trying to vote?
No, her name-
I'm there.
Her name
You
will be
just have-
on
my
there,
name
but
will
you
be
have to
there.
manually.
You have to go over. You have to go. I just
Look for
recommend
it.
when you look for my name, look
for her
Tan-
name.
just Look for
Right.
Youngblood.
Yes.
Look for Tansy Youngblood, and make that your first pick right there. Then you can go back and pick whoever else.
So when you going into the booth on the line, she's not on the line. When you
Right.
going in there in that booth and you look, the things like this, go look for her name first. Click it, and then you can go.
Right.
Don't just go boop and then just you rushing.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Because if you
Look
click
for her
if
name.
you click the Democratic line,
And that happens, yeah.
right,
It
you're
goes
gonna
all,
be,
yep.
You're automatically voting for Menendez. You're automatically voting for Jeff Van Drew and everybody else that they've endorsed within the county on the line. So that's really very important to understand. And people who are involved in politics talk that lingo, that Django, you know, the line, and people don't understand it. You know,
I think that's very important. That
it's
you go
very
there.
Yeah.
important.
Thank you for bringing that up because,
very important.
I mean, and you
Because I
look,
for
you know,
names,
some
but I
people
didn't know
look,
it
but
until today.
Right.
yeah, you would have just thought, you know, hit straight Democrat. You're on the
Right,
Democratic
right.
ticket.
That, and that's
So,
voting the
yeah.
line.
Mhm.
And,
That's
that,
voting the
and you
line.
know what? That's what faithful Democrats have done.
Mhm.
And that's what they've done
That's
for
right.
years. But what you have to do now, again, you have to find my name first, click it, then go and vote for it.
Very important.
Find me, just find me. I'm
Very
there.
important.
Find her on the. I haven't always. I voted
Now you know.
sometimes Republican.
Oh.
Some depend on. I ain't gonna say who though, because
Okay.
I don't want to
All
get.
right, okay.
May I chime in?
I like my car.
May I chime in on something?
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
think it's important as young people for us. A lot of the issues that affect us, we stay on our phones most of the time. I mean, that's how we communicate. You might have experienced this yourself, with having to tell someone to put a phone down. Young people get comfortable. We get comfortable. We see the same names every day. Seeing politics, we get used to seeing that so much growing up. We don't think to change it. We just think that the person in the office will just inadvertently know what's going on, which is not the
And
case.
that's not true.
So sometimes we do need to reach out to our senators and write them. Find their platform that they use the most, whether it be Twitter or Facebook or whatever the case may be, to reach out to them, to speak to them and tell them some of the problems that we're having. Some of the issues that are aligned with us young people, which we touched about, the college. As a congresswoman,
Yes.
would you be implementing laws that would either tax or penalize companies like Sallie Mae for high interest rates on student loans?
You know, I think I mentioned earlier, I think we need to have loan forgiveness programs in this country. I really do. I think we also need to have some kind of volunteer service work that you do. And doing that service and volunteer, you could also use that to pay, take off some of the debt that you owe. How about zero interest loans? That would help.
That'd be great.
That would make,
And we do have loan forgiveness
Forgiveness, yeah.
programs already, and especially in the medical world
And social work,
and social work. So
teaching.
So if, for instance, if you go to medical school and then you do your residency, and you decide, and this is sponsored by the federal government, if you go to work for an FQHC, a federally qualified health center, for 3 years, a large part of your student loan debt is forgiven by the federal government.
Ours is, I know for social work, it's 10 years. And
10 years doing what?
10 years you have to be in a nonprofit.
Okay.
A nonprofit, work for a nonprofit. 10 years, you pay on time, and the rest is forgiven. Economically, yes, it works out for me. I'll probably wind up paying maybe $50,000 back as opposed to $170-some thousand.
Okay.
But what happens is, here's that little catch, because there's always that catch-22. What happens is, I can't get a home because the mortgage is, they have to put in 1%. Like I'm paying 1% of my student loans, which is $1,700. And I can't get it, I think it's arbitrated or something, where I call student loans and they send a paper saying they're going to stretch the loan out and I'm only paying this because I'm on the loan forgiveness.
The deferment?
No, not the deferment. It's a word, it starts with an A.
So
Because the
let me-
mortgage guy was like, call student loans and ask them about a ARB or something. So I
Arbitrate.
called them and
So let me ask you a question. What kind of financing were you trying to get?
the FHA.
Okay. That's your first mistake.
Okay.
So do you live in this area?
Yes.
And you want to stay in this area?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to give you the name and the number of a person to call. In this area, one of Cumberland County and Salem County's best kept secrets
Is the
is to get a home with the USDA.
Day. Yeah.
Don't
I've heard of that.
Don't go through FHA. And what happens is a lot of real estate companies as well as brokers really don't want to deal with USDA because their return isn't going to be as big. But you can go into an area, and the entire Cumberland County qualifies. The entire Salem County qualifies. Because these are considered redevelopment areas by the federal government. So you can go into a modest home with zero money out of your pocket, even with that much debt, as long as you've been keeping up with your payments, okay, and you have a moderate salary.
And I think I have a friend that's on the USDA. It's like the urban areas in certain specific, they, want you to read rural areas, and they want you to rebuild and, the area.
I bought a home, USDA. I'm on disability, Social Security. Okay, I have very, very limited income. Okay, and I bought my home 2 years ago. And when I tell you, I went for a year without having any income coming in my pocket. And it was just by the grace of God that I had a little bit of money to put away that I could, pay minimum amounts on my bills. And I didn't have anything left in the bank. I bought a home.
I have to check that out because it's almost.
Not only are you going to check it out, I'm going to give you the name. I'm going to give you
Educate.
the name.
It's about educating and empowering.
I'm going to give you the name because sometimes it's hard to find a broker who will take you through that process. Okay. So I'll give you the name. His name is Robert Nixon, and he does USDA loan. He does all the other conventional stuff too, but he will work especially with marginalized people of color. He will definitely work. You can go in a home. You can go in a home, okay, with $25,000 income.
Wow.
And wait a minute, wasn't she the one that said she was gonna sit over there, and she didn't want to come?
She goes, let her talk.
I don't want to go over there.
So they have two different programs that you qualify for. And one of them is for if you are in a lower income bracket, I think up to $35,000 or $30,000. So like I said, literally you can make $20,000 and you can own your own home. Okay.
Wow. That's a beautiful thing.
Yes, and then the other program, which is the one that I qualified for, I think the income limit is up to 75. You can't make more than $75,000, for the second program that they have. But like I said, sometimes it's a little. I had a difficult time finding somebody to help me go through that finance process.
Okay.
I know that TD Bank does USDA loans. I found them hard to work with, and I fired them.
They're hard bank.
I fired them. They took me through 7 months, and at the end of 7 or 8 months, I didn't have a home. I fired them. I called Robert Nixon, and I closed on my home in 30 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So there are people who know the process, who can get you through it, who aren't going to play games with you, who aren't going to rip you off. You know what I mean? And you can get in a home. So don't think because you have all this debt, as long as you are up to date on your payments, you can go into a home and have that debt.
And see, that's what one of the it was the loan was this. My credit was great. I make enough money.
Exactly.
It was just that student loan and a lot of.
Find you a house and you can get into a home.
And they were talking about it was a lot of the housing problem came from when everybody was getting the mortgages that they couldn't afford, and then the housing crashed. So, and it's like with student loans, they said they're preparing almost for the same thing as student loans because so many people nowadays are in debt with student loans. And you go, and it's like with me, I have a license. I have a social worker license. If I don't pay my student loan, they'll suspend my social work license.
So you have to.
So I have to pay my student loan. Wow. So the mortgage company will say, well, she got to pay her student loan. Yeah. She's going to pay her student loan first because she's going to have to work.
You have a track record. There's no reason that you should not be able to buy a home.
Well, now I am.
And home ownership
is important. You'll be at the house for me.
Do you have a phone number?
Yes, to the house.
Do you have a phone number for Mr. Nixon?
And also home ownership, stabilizing factors in our community. It keeps our community stable. Home ownership is
I'm
very
gonna give
important.
you guys this number, and he's not gonna mind. It's business for him.
I also have a question from Brian Scott on Facebook. They want to know your plans for policing our communities.
Plans for
That's a good
policing our
question.
communities. It is a very good question. As a matter of fact, we need to build better relationships between the community, members of the community, and the police force. And we need to have more cultural awareness. We have to look at the implicit racism that goes on in this country. We have to bring it to the forefront. We have to address it.
Okay. All right.
Did you want some?
I have one more question.
Go
that I
ahead.
wanted
Just
to
keep
ask
roll
it.
with it.
Sorry.
It's about human trafficking.
Yes.
I believe Atlantic County is #1 for the state of New Jersey in human trafficking. What kind of would you be in favor of maybe education of human trafficking in schools, pushing, the awareness of the human traffic situation as a whole in school, as far as educating our young kids about it?
Well, you know what? I just really recently received a good education about it, to be perfectly honest. I
As well
have a
did I.
friend who is in the ministry, and that's part of what she does. She goes into the prisons, and she works in women's prisons in particular, and she's told me stories of women who, have been abused and are part of this, human trafficking. And you would think that in 2018, something like this would not exist, but it
Right.
does, and it's real, and it's impacting people's lives. And again, this is not something that should be happening in a modern contemporary society that we live in. So education is always key. Again, education is key for everything, not just for economic opportunities and development, but it's just key to learning. Learning is knowledge is powerful. And so an issue like you just described is something that we all benefit knowing from, because our humanity is what binds us all together.
Right.
And that's what we, have to look at. Our humanity and doing the right thing, because when you do the right thing, everybody benefits.
Correct.
And of course, anybody who is involved in, human trafficking, I mean, that is certainly something that needs to be addressed and dealt with.
It definitely needs, as a young woman,
Yes.
I've recently found out about it. I mean, merely recent. I believe my senior year in high school, I actually found out about it. And I think as a woman starts to develop in her early teenage years, we need to push that. We need to push that, the education, what we can do to, how to spot it, what we can do if we do know of a situation, it's really important. And, I really wish, that we would had that information a little bit earlier, but can't change everything. But it's a start. It's a start if,
Well, it's about educating and empowering. And that is the purpose of my campaign, to educate people and to empower people. And that's what I want to do. I want to talk about the issues. Listen, this campaign is about economics. It's about education. It's about health. It's about social and political justice, equality, and fairness. That's what this is all about. That's why I'm doing this. And these are progressive ideas. Justice, fairness, and equality for all. It's basically civil rights for all. That's what this is about. It's about basic human civil rights. And that's what I promote. And this campaign is the people's campaign. And this campaign is about educating and empowering people. And I hope that this campaign can also inspire young people like you, women, people of color, to one day run, to get involved in the system, to see to it that everybody has economic, educational, health, social, and political justice.
Question I have for you
Yes.
is your stance on marijuana. I know that's a big issue for everybody in New Jersey.
Yeah, it is. Well, I say legalize it, I say regulate it, and I say tax it.
Recreational and medical and
Medical, yes. Let's talk about recreational. Now, you know what? I want to make sure that when it is legalized, who's profiting from it? Is it going to be another big like the cigarette industry, where you have big corporations making money and flooding, these cigarettes into communities, and then they're making the money? Who's growing it? Are small growers benefiting from it? Where's the money going? Is it going back into the schools to to educate about drug prevention programs and things of that nature? So we have to be very careful. Let's see where the profit is going. But again,
Would you base it on Colorado's usage?
well, you know what, I've heard about Colorado, and there's been a lot of issues from what I understand, and a lot of people haven't been satisfied with it. I'm interested in who's making a profit off of it. That's what I am. And again, you regulate it like you do the drugs and the alcohol and tobacco, and it should be regulated, very carefully regulated. And you know what? All of the people who are in prison, no one should be in prison for cannabis. Right?
So it needs to be decriminalized.
It needs to be
Yes.
decriminalized. So again, legalize it, regulate it, and of course tax it. But again, see who's going to profit off of it, and make sure that maybe some of that money could go back into the African American communities as reparations for past,
Criminalization.
Absolutely, for the crimes.
We had
How about that?
We had a conversation here about the opiates, how, and I'm not a racist, but how when a white person is caught and the child is in the back seat, they give them Narcan and they go home with their baby. If it's somebody of color, our kid is going to DIFUS and we're going to jail.
Well, you know what? Listen, drugs and addiction is a mental health crisis, and we've criminalized it in this country. And there's the problem, and that's how I see it. It's not. We've criminalized it, and it should be
For some
treated.
people.
Yeah, and right, we have right. So we should treat it. We should treat it, not lock
Across
it
the
up.
board.
We can't lock it exactly,
But
yeah,
across the board.
Across the board,
It
absolutely.
shouldn't be a color issue.
Back
It
to
should be a social class issue.
Yes.
It should be
Back to equity, right? Back to
should be blind.
equity.
It
It
should
should
be
be
blind.
absolutely back to equity.
Because there's a lack of substance abuse facilities in Cumberland County. There's such, and half majority, I want to say at least about 60% of our clients have, and I deal with chronic persistent mental illness like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety, but maybe about 60%, I would say, have a substance use disorder also. And there are very limited places in Cumberland County to send them for treatment. Because a lot of times and you can treat the mental health, but you can't treat the substance abuse. So they need a micro program, like either a micro program, or they need somewhere that's a substance abuse detox, get clean, and then focus on the mental health. But there's a very limited amount in Cumberland County.
You know, when you said that, it made me think about how we treat, when a person is addicted and they're homeless, how about getting them in a home and then treat the addiction? Because it's difficult
It's
treating.
very.
We're doing it backwards, right?
It's Maslow's hierarchy. You have to. People have to know they have shelter, protection. Yes,
There you
first.
go.
You cannot focus on any other goals if your basic needs are not met. Yes, if you are homeless, that's like I tell my staff all the time. They can't work on a goal of getting their driver's license if they don't have a place to stay. Their mind is focused on where am I going to sleep tonight? Where am I going to get something to eat? That's you got to settle that first.
You gotta solve that homelessness issue, you do. And when you talked about Cumberland County, I came across an interesting statistic. When you talked about the families being broken up because the kids are taken away. In Cumberland County, the rate is higher, whereas it's going down in other counties. The rate of mothers losing their children is higher here in Cumberland County. It's going up in this county as opposed to going down where it is in other counties. What do you think is attributing to that in Cumberland County? Because I found that And you also have the highest teen pregnancy rate.
There's a lot of high teen pregnancy rate. So you have, and there's like a lot of lack of education. You have younger people raising children, and lack of resources.
Here, is there? In Cumberland County?
No.
What was it?
There's
Planned
no, we have
Parenthood.
complete care. That's it.
No, there's
No Planned Parenthood.
Closed
Closed,
down,
yeah,
closed
Right,
down.
right,
It used to
right,
be
right.
fam
So
care.
Fam care, yeah.
Look at the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
No Planned Parenthood, highest teen pregnancy rate.
I think a lot of this though is you have to sit and talk with your children about certain things. And in my old school, I went to a private school. We didn't talk about this. I didn't have actual sex education health class until I was a senior, getting ready to graduate out of Millville High School. And it was something they say just don't have it. Abstinence. I went to a Christian school, a private Christian school. But it's really important because you can't assume just because, hey,
Listen, I
I
worked
tell you
in
don't have
public
it.
education. Let's not fool ourselves.
Right.
Our children are having sex. They
Right.
are. That's the bottom line. And we look at the reality of it, and we need to make sure that our children are protected.
Right.
We
And
do.
they're aware
We do.
of
And it doesn't
everything.
only have to be at home, it takes a village, and we need to all.
And
be
half the time, by the
involved.
time they get to the social worker, it's too late.
Right.
It's too late. We're just trying to pick up the pieces.
I was a teen pregnant. I was 17. I didn't have her till I was 18. So I understand that dilemma. My mom worked for Rutgers University, so it wasn't that I wasn't getting the education. It was it was what it was, young and dumb. Young and dumb, I can take the responsibility. But my mom, as soon as we found out, she sent me to parenting classes because she was like, oh, you having it, you're
Right.
dealing with it.
Right.
Old school. Grandma's not watching this kid. You going out and you're handling it. And I grew up. I had no choice. But in Cumberland County, the resources are so slim. These girls go to school, the guidance counselors aren't talking to them about, you know what, you can be a professor, you can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer. They're putting them in CNA classes, they're putting them in low pay positions where these other children who are coming in who are a little bit more silver spooned are getting the SAT classes, are getting the FAFSA classes. So even though it's not mentioned, it's still that color barrier that if we can keep this group down, there's more for us.
Implicit racism. It's implicit.
Right.
And it's also difficult with the school system. I remember I was substitute teaching, and we were reading some book about, it was an older literature book, and it was talking about how he, greased his hand to please his wife, and and the kids are like, well, what are they talking? It was high school, and they're like, well, what are they talking about? What can you explain? And I said, listen. Outside of this classroom, I'll tell you everything you want to know. Inside of here, I got to abide by the public school system's rules, and I do not feel like getting put in the newspaper, trying to explain anything. And they actually wanted me to teach a sociology class at Millville High School. It's like one of those, they start the college classes and then they move on, so they won't. And I just no. I said, because I run my class in a certain way, and I don't want to have to watch what I say because the public school system is going to, chastise me or, and that's the difficult part. Public school system seems like they're so terrified to start talking to these kids and telling them the truth about, reality in the real world.
Well, you know what? This is the importance of community and community members bonding and doing what we need to do to make sure that our children are safe and that they're protected. And back to a topic we were talking about, the implicit racism, I would like everyone to know that next Tuesday, May 29th, at 9 o'clock, please tune in to MSNBC. Janice and I will be on the
I guess you didn't know this, Janice.
with Joy Reid and Chris Mathis.
Okay.
We will be taping, and the topic is racism in America. Next Tuesday, Starbucks are closing down all of their stores for the
Training.
for the racial sensitivity training or in service, and they in the MSNBC will be filming in Philadelphia.
Nice.
And we are both invited, and we're part of the town hall. And believe me, we're gonna get a hold of that microphone. And we are going
So
to
that's
share.
next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Well, this Tuesday coming up,
Yeah,
May
exactly.
29th,
29th.
9 o'clock. Tune in, everybody.
MSN.
MSNBC.
With
And you're going to
Julie.
have it on your Facebook page?
Yes, I am.
Because I will repost it.
Thank you.
Yes, I will
Yes.
repost it.
Anything else you have?
No, I just want to say one thing,
Wait a
though.
minute, wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Back to the women. Because
Oh.
I'm, you know how big
Yeah,
I am
she's-
about these young women, these black young women and Hispanic young women in Cumberland County. We are worth so much, but yet we degrade ourselves by not giving us, and like you said, knowledge is power, but knowledge is confidence. The more you know, the more confident you feel, the more you're able to walk where you need to go and not waver. But if you're not reaching it, there's a problem. A lot of these young women, there's no resources for the, they got, have you been to the Big Brothers and Big Sisters in this area yet? Every time I went, the doors closed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I have a
Now-
13-year-old and I have
Okay.
a 7-year-old, and I've been divorced for 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
I'm looking for a mentor to supplement.
Okay.
Every time I went, closed. Phone rings, no answer. So here it is. Here it is, a situation of there's no resources. Where's this money going? Because it is federal grant money.
No.
Where's it going? Where's it going? And I know the lady who runs it. She drives a nice little fancy red car.
Follow the money trail.
It ain't too hard to find. It ain't too hard to find. And when I approached her at a Democratic Party, that she was there, but she's a Republican, she was there, and I said something to her. She was like, "Oh, I don't understand." And I said, "Okay, then I will meet you at your office at 9 o'clock, and I'll show you how to understand." Do you think she showed up? She did not. So here it is, back to a situation that Cumberland County, I'm making her accountable. She decided to drop off. You go to your mayor. You say something to your mayor, and the mayor is more interested that you're a female instead of interested if this is going to change. Cumberland County is so closed-minded, tunnel visioned on other resources and other situations instead of taking care of the community. And us women, we create the community. Life starts with us. That child is born, we nurture it, we love it, we send it on out into the field. But if we don't have the resources, what are we sending out there?
Nothing more important than the people. The people. We make up the community.
So
Invest in people.
how are we going to, how when you go into office, how would you change that for our women, our young women? How can we reach out to them and change because this is the year of the woman. So
Oh,
we,
you didn't see that pink wave coming?
What?
You didn't see that pink wave?
Can't you see the
you
glow on
gotta
my
see,
face?
You gotta see that pink. Listen, look at the primaries all across the country.
Right.
And I just wanna, I don't wanna get off topic, but I do just wanna mention this about the women. You see, this is why I'm running. Women in this country, we make up nearly 51% of the population. In the House of Representatives, we make up a little over 19%. This is the problem with the policies and the mandates that are coming out of Washington, D.C. You have women's perspectives and voices that are not being heard. And this is the reason that I'm running. Because the men aren't doing so good. With this Me Too movement and all of the other things, this sexual harassment and all of this going on, we need different voices. And I intend to be a voice, believe me. And I intend to be a voice for women. I intend to be a voice for people of color. But more importantly, I intend to be a voice for all members of the 2nd Congressional District.
amen.
And that's and
That's
a
all
lot
I
of
ask.
men stop. It. She is an African American woman. She knows more probably about your plight than those white males in office who, yes, they'll come around, they'll shake your hand, they'll ha ha ha, take a picture, and then they're gone. You're left in poverty, while they're sitting up there somewhere in East Vineland, in their big old house, fancy car, and you're sitting here in the corner trying to figure out how to eat, how to, get a better paying job, yeah. So it's like men sometimes side with men, but they got to understand not all men are on your side either. But look at that. So.
And also, I would like to add, like, you know, I am all about women's empowerment. I really am. But the bottom line is, I'm widowed. You know what? I like men. I had a husband for 36 years. I have 2 sons, 2 wonderful sons, and I have 2 grandsons as well. So, you know what? I'm not just for women. I'm for men too.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is what men need to understand is men have mothers.
Mm-hmm.
They have daughters.
Sisters.
They have sisters. And you know what? We need to level the playing field.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And they want to see their daughters succeed in this society as well. So what we do is we have to get over this gender bias and thinking that only men can be politicians or that only men are good representatives. And we have to understand that they have to share power. That's when things work. When you have balance.
Harmony.
Exactly.
Yes.
Share the power.
And for some reason, I just foresee another future congresswoman, senator on this side.
There you go.
I sense it, like I feel it, and it's like, so in about maybe 5 years from now, you come let us know, because I can just kind of feel it. I'm feeling another.
Well,
yeah.
I've actually been really in tune with the issues that have been happening. I had to grow up with that. My mom suffered from paranoid schizophrenia.
Oh, okay.
Institutionalized. My dad passed away when I was 5. So I was raised by my grandfather. And the things that are affecting him are they say a lot of people would like to say, oh, it doesn't affect you now. It does, because his problems are my problems. I go home, my household is that of an elderly man who's on fixed income. So me and him together are a team. So his fight is my fight. So when I did some research we're from Newark. He gets a pension. They're always changing our healthcare system. They implement one new, they say we're merging with this. We're cutting this. We're not doing this. This affects my grandfather when he goes to get his prescriptions. When he's hospitalized, which he's a strong man, but you know what? He goes to the hospital sometimes. He takes trips there. He has a bill at the end of the day. He has to take care of that. The insurance companies aren't like, you know what, you were sick. It's okay, we got you.
Or they're not concerned if he's eating macaroni and cheese every day.
Or taking half of his medicine.
Half of his medicine.
So that he could eat the macaroni and cheese.
Exactly. Or skipping out on this bill and being cut off from this and being cut off from that, because that was a situation with my uncle. He has Alzheimer's, so you kind of forget that they don't have it together.
Right.
I mean, when you get to a certain age, you kind of want to just kick back a little bit and not have to stress. But
listen, I was a caretaker for my mom who had Alzheimer's, so I do know how that is.
And it's frustrating because he was a social worker as well, so his pension and his Social Security is a nice little chunk of change. But you know, for 2018, that chunk of change, and probably for you, it's probably very minimal and far in between. So you know, he comes over, I finally get him, and I have 2 or 3 shoe boxes of what ifs. You know, what ifs? Okay, what if this doesn't get paid this week? I guess this box, you know. And that's how he was managing his income. And then every time I would turn around and make a phone call, he makes too much money. Well, how much money more? $13 over.
Oh yeah, that 11.
$2.50 over. You know, and then you're thinking, well, because he has Alzheimer's, he forgets to turn off lights, so he has a $700 electric bill.
Right.
You know, and his income is $200, $2,000. So here it is. How much does he have left after he pays his taxes, after he pays his expenses? Now he's looking at me like, how am I supposed to eat?
And this is like my sister before she was a social worker, and she went out on disability waiting for Social Security. Her medications $400 and $500 that she needed. So I was trying to help them. My mom had her Social Security. So it was like their rent, their this, you know, food. So it was like I had to take from my household, like I was trying to help them pay for medications, cooking meals, bringing it over there. So, and this is what people don't really see and realize. This is what we're talking about. This is the middle class struggle right here. These are the people that, they don't see this. They don't see the people.
And they don't see how I have to go into my retirement savings to pay taxes to the government.
Can I ask you a question about your uncle?
And he's a veteran on top of that.
And he's a veteran?
He's a veteran on top of that.
Does he own a home?
If you want to call it that.
I mean, does he own the property
Property, yes.
that he lives in?
Yes.
So, did he apply for the property tax exemption?
He makes too much. He makes too much.
He has a pension and social security, and they do have cutoffs.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying,
He
even
makes too
when you
much.
purchase
It's
health
87,000.
insurance. When,
Not in here, not violent.
No, it's for the state. So
When
I
I
don't know where
called- When I called, they told me, and I took all his paperwork in, that he makes too much. He made $17 too much. And don't get it wrong, I was born and raised in violence, so I know the gamut on how they run things. Oh, you don't look like somebody I want to help, or you might not have the right color, so I'm gonna make sure we don't
But
have available for you.
double check that, because when we depend on people to give us correct information, sometimes they give us information according to whatever's going through their filter.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? So I would just advise you. I mean, it's too late for this year. The deadline is April 1st. But I would go online on the state website and look at the guidelines for that and make sure that he's $13 or $17 over the limit, because he
Right.
may not be.
Because even with the VA, when I went into the VA, into his portion of the VA, he makes too much money for any assistance for the VA, and I'm thinking, how is this so?
With the VA, they should be
But double check.
If you serve this country, there should not be a cap on
Anything.
Double check the property tax exemption for disabled. Okay.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
It just infuriates me, because here it is, my father served, and he was eligible for everything because my mother passed before he did, so his income decreased. But for my uncle, who was single, no children, never been married, it's a whole another ballpark.
Oh, thanks.
I'm
Thanks.
sorry, baby, I'll rub your back on that one.
on that line with the vets, I would just like to add, I'm the only candidate in this race who is endorsed by any of the veterans organizations. I am endorsed by the Common Defense. In addition, I am endorsed by the Congressional Black Caucus PAC. I am endorsed by Food and Water Works, which is an environmental group. I am also endorsed by Higher Heights Organization, which is the black female version of Emily's List. And the endorsements can go on and on. So I have a lot of endorsements, and I've worked hard, and I will work hard for the people of the 2nd Congressional District, and Cumberland County will not be in the 21st place under my watch.
And I'm a good, I read people a lot. I really,
Well,
that's like my profession.
accountable.
Yeah, that's like my profession. I can kind of,
We can
I
hold
meet
her
somebody, I'm
accountable.
like, okay, I already know what's going on. and I'm really, impressed. I am, people, you have to go out and vote. You have to go. If you let this slide by, you need to just be ashamed of yourself.
Pack up and move.
Yes, just pack up and move.
Pack up and move.
Young people go out there and vote. I can't even stress it.
Yeah.
It's when with the whole Donald Trump election, it was either, well, I don't like either candidate. I'm like, you still need to vote.
Vote.
Right.
And like I said, our ancestors died. They died.
For our
They
right.
shed blood and tears to get to the right to vote, to go to vote. And you sit here, it only takes you 2 minutes at the most. If my mom, and I was that election, it just I was so, I'm gonna say, pissed off that my mom took, a cane, everything. I had to help her to the car. I had to and I had to try to hurry up. And
You sound like it overworked you, not her.
it did, but but it's just she got out there, she was hurting. But you sit up here, you're 20-something years old, you can go run out there, you can go party, you can go to the club, you can do this, but you can't take 2 minutes to vote for something that's going to mean something to you in the long run.
And you can do the mail-in vote.
Yes.
To get the ballot, and you can also go into the County Board of Elections, is it called, I believe, and you can vote in person early. You don't have to wait until June 5th.
Okay,
I can
I'll
get you
copy
that exact information where it's located and pass it on to you, so people can actually go in and vote when it's.
Yes, you can
Put it
go
around
early.
these threads, that way when they see it at a later time, they can just go in and just
There,
click on it.
and the polls are open at 6 a.m. and they close at 8 p.m. So you got all the time in the world.
Take your lunch break.
Yep, take your lunch
Right?
break,
Take
go
your
vote.
smoke break.
Go early, just
Past the line.
yeah,
Yes.
just
That's right.
and follow the line and find her name. Okay, so this went on for you have to come back. You definitely have to come back.
Of course she's gonna win, so she has to.
No, yeah. So
I will be back. I will definitely be
This is the
back. Thank you
primary,
for having
so
me.
we really wanna get
Thank
her to vote, and then
June
after
5th.
that,
June 5th.
June 5th.
That's
Young blood for
your luck.
Congress.
Yes, young blood for Congress is those birthday
and
gives
follow
out.
the name, Young
yes,
Blood, because
Young
she
Blood.
has Young blood for the rest of us. She wants to keep us open and flowing. So
And don't forget to tune in Tuesday. This Tuesday coming up 9 p.m. at MSNBC with Joy Reid, Chris Matthews, and you'll be on there. They're going to be at the town. You want to be on the town hall.
On racism in America.
Racism in America. That is going to
they're
be
selling tickets to that on Eventbrite.
on awesome. That is going to be awesome. So people tune in.
They're selling tickets for Eventbrite. I got the message yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if we can get on it, we get on
So
it.
we also want to thank Ms. Jerry Granger for coming and Ms. Rosebell. Rosebell. What's your last name?
Green.
Great.
It's regular.
Rosebell Green. Oh, okay. Well,
Yes.
oh, okay. So they got your first name, so everybody
They
can
don't
remember
want
you.
no middle names. We're just gonna leave it at that.
So
Can't forget Janice, aka
yes, Janice, aka Gail.
Actually, Janice Delta.
Janice Delta.
Delta Sigma Theta. Don't get it confused. I know what you meant by AKA. It's the other, you know.
She's the Delta.
It's like,
She's the Delta.
I love AKAs though. I do. I absolutely love
So you're
AKAs.
a
But thank
Delta?
you. I'm a Delta. Yes.
wow.
Yes.
So your last name is Delta.
No.
She's a Delta. What do y'all?
I'm a Delta Sigma
What's
Theta.
y'all plan? Okay, it's that way.
There she
Okay.
is.
Yeah.
Here's my card. Here's
Okay.
my number.
So she's a Delta. Shout out to all the Deltas.
All right.
Thank
Shall
you.
I-
So
yeah,
Thank you.
you'll
Thank
be
you for
where
having us.
speaking on racism.
It's the town hall.
We gotta
On
go.
Tuesday.
We gotta go.
Don't forget to share this information.
Oh yes.
Televised?
The for
And also a reminder, June
Philadelphia?
2nd is